So The Haunting of Hill House season finale, episode 10, Silence Lays Steadily, opens with a huge reveal here in an awesome way in a flashback showing little Theo dancing in that room and now being revealed it was in the red room with Shirley and little Nell on the other side when they were trying to get in there and saw shadows under the door. And on the other side of it, Theo saw their shadow. So it was really cool how this came about. And you can already make the connection right here that this is the case now with, the mom's reading room, Luke's treehouse, Steven's game room. Because when you're watching the show, the logic of where the rooms are, you're like, how did this all fit in the house and where is it? So now we got the reveal this was all the red room. So what I really loved about this finale is we get to see everybody's scenario in the red room. Everyone had their Nell moment where things they feel guilty about they kind of see, and also that wish they have of like a tease of the perfect life and scenario and the house tricking them. So I feel like everyone got their closure and their time here. So we actually open with Steven's scenario, and you see it's this dream life he had because it's his wife pregnant. They're having a little girl and they're going to name her after Nell. And he's writing his book and he's adding in the part of him and his dad getting to Hill House. And a nice line here too, the wife's encouraging him to write the book so little Nell gets the voice he never got in his life, explaining all these crazy events. So it's kind of crazy too, because it gets you in the mind of Steven and what he really wants in life. And then it cuts to when Steve and Dad actually first got to the house here. And I love Steven, the biggest doubter, is now head on seeing all these ghosts. Seeing the Slender Man to the right, seeing little Abby. And I love when the Slender Man goes up to his face and the dad's like, look at me. Kind of just like when the dad was running him out of the house as a kid saying, close your eyes. And a great narration here from Steve. Fear is a relinquishment of logic. Fear, we yield to it or we fight it, but we cannot meet it halfway. I really love this line here, talking about fear and how it is one of those things that can completely control you and take you over you, or you can fight against it and move past it. It's hard to just keep it in the middle there. It's an extreme emotion. You saw how that overtook the mom and eventually overtook Nell. And now we see when Steven went into the red room and saw Luke on the floor. And it cuts back to Steve's dream sequence here. He's like, I can't say what happened after the door closed. I don't remember. I don't remember you and me making up. I don't remember getting you pregnant. So this is really well done too, because it's showing you the red room is in disguise and it's tricking you, but it's not totally tricking you. Like, they're getting that point of like, wait a minute, how did we get here? What I love about the Red Room and Hill House as a whole is it starts to crap on you out of nowhere. It gets so intense with Lee here like it did when Nell and Luke as kids were telling the mom about the bad dreams they were going to have. And Lee's calling him an eater and using other people's pain for his own gain. And she's basically just saying he used her for all pleasures. And then a baby demon's about to come out here. And a crazy line where she's like, will you lose your mind like your mother did? But Nell comes to save the day and snaps him out of it. So I like they had Ghost Nell now fighting against Hill House is trying to take over her family and brainwash them like they did her. And we see Steve now is in the red room, sees Luke bugging out, and it's a nice transition to cutting off where we last saw Luke trying to burn down the place. And now we see Luke's red room experience. We see in this, he's having what he wished happened where Joey's okay. She didn't go start doing drugs again. He saved her. But then Hill House quickly does a trick on him here and offers him drugs. And Joey's like, you're never really clean. You have an appointment with that needle. Damn, that is some heavy, dark stuff right there. Especially for the drug addict's mind. It's such a negative thing to say. And it gets really sour. She's like, you're thinking I might have died in that alleyway, laying in my own puke and piss. So this really got to his head right here. And she's like, come with me, Luke. And he's like, no, I won't. And she's like, baby, you already did. And we get this runny eggs eyes here, alluding to that speech the man made in the meeting in Luke's episode. That was really cool. And it cuts to the needle in Luke's arm. So I was really well done with the line there that he already did do it, didn't even realize it. And it's rat poison. So he's poisoning himself. And I love the ambient banging going on in this episode when someone's coming to the house. It just amps it up. And you hear it again now when Shirley and Theo got to the house. And the dad can't get into the red room. It doesn't want him. It wants the kids right now. And Theo at this moment finds the dad on the floor with pills. This is a big hint to the dad's fate right there. And Shirley's now in her red room trap. And it's the man with the drink we've been seeing. He sends her a drink across the bar. She kind of already flirts back with him by sending him the least popular item on the menu. And they both got those wedding rings on, so she's married here. And so is he. And he's like, I got the makings of a mean martini if you want a nightcap. This is actually Shirley's dream situation at first because she says no. And she does the right thing. But then the guilt comes in of it. And it works perfectly because the lights came on when she said no. But then they go back off. And then he comes back and is like, but that's not what really happened. That worked really well visually. So props to the lighting team there and the directing. And he goes on explaining what she did wrong that night. How old are the kids? 6 and 2? And I love how it eats at her here. And he's like, you went up because of the ring. You had as much to lose as I did. And it's interesting here too, we learned it was at a time when the bills are bad. Her husband was adrift. She's far from home. So these are all scenarios that can lead to cheating. And he's like, and you got away with it. She's like, I'm a good wife. I'm a good mother. I'm a good person. This is all against Shirley's idea of herself, pushing against her trying to be the perfect person all the time. And he calls her out for her anger against Theo and Kevin here, and that she's so righteous. And he's like, you never told Kevin. So this house is hammering into Shirley here. I really love this scene. I love how amplified it got and how hard hitting it was on Shirley, and then to cut to her still stuck in this even deeper dream, and she's at the funeral home. She sees herself on the frame and herself in the casket. And this is really the Red Room forcing her to look at herself. Something she doesn't like to do. And I love the Kevin line here to her. It hits her biggest fear where he's like, when he dies, you have to see what happened in the hotel room. So she wants to die first. And it's really creepy and effective seeing her rip her eyes open and clawing at herself. Nell comes to save the day. Now we're back to the Red Room. We see Shirley snaps out of it and she's helping to try to get Luke back to life. Now it's Theo's turn. And she talks about the only time her mom hit her and she spanked her. And in here, this is so unlike Theo because she's actually opening up fully now to her lover. And she's also being normal, a dream she would have. Not having overwhelming feelings with the girl touching her. But her lover goes on about fear and guilt being sisters. And it's interesting because you realize this man she's talking about in the story is a man that was in that wall near the mold that the dad found. Because he was clawing, trying to get out of there. And he sounded like rats behind the wall. And then he woke up tall, so it's telling you that body was the original body of the Slender Man in the house. It's interesting because the house is using its own tragedies to manipulate these people, its own stories. And then Nell comes in here to save the day. This was the first disappointing Red Room scenario for me with Theo. It was short, quick, expected more for such an important character. There wasn't really any big revelations on her part here. And the whole monologue about guilt and fear being sisters was nice, but it felt a little bit of out of left field. And it was trying to force something in there. And there's a lot of that in this episode, which was also in the last episode, which I felt frustrated with Poppy Hill character for that reason, but we'll get to that. Now they're all in the Red Room trying to save Luke, and it makes it so much more sadder with Theo's crying. Again, excellent acting, per usual, by Kate Siegel. But now we see Luke wakes up in this white version of the Red Room. So you know he's close to death here with all the white. And he sees his younger version of his sister, Nell, and Abby. And he sees his mom there. And what's interesting about the mom's ghost character, it's very complicated to me in understanding it because there's parts of her that are definitely from the mom's thinking, especially the monologue about how it wasn't his fault and about him being almost named Robin. The house in a way knows what she would think. But when she pulls the big boy hat out, you know again this is also the house doing its tricks. You wonder how much of it is really the mom, how much of it's the house. So that got kind of confusing for me. But you see Nell's telling him to go and not fall for it. So this is part of Nell's coding since being young too. She has an instinct for this kind of stuff. Sees through all of it. But he almost dies here. Nell saves him and he gets resuscitated in current time. Thank God, I could not handle losing Luke here. And he points to Nell as she appears and he's like, she saved me. And then that big reveal comes that they allude to in the beginning, that they all have been in the room so many times and didn't even know it. Very cool. And she's talking about how our moments fall around us like rain, snow, or confetti. Time's not linear like dominoes falling. And she's like, the house is like a body and this room's really like the stomach and it's digesting them. And she says, I'm a small creature that was eaten by a monster. And some real tears started coming here with Luke. And when he's like to Nell, I don't know how I'd keep going on without you. And Nell's like, there is no without. I'm always here. So this becomes like a Jesus-like figure for Nell. Everyone finally apologizes to Nell, just like she always dreamed of. But now it's really happening. And she's like, forgiveness is warm. Think of me. Very Jesus-like. And she's like, I love you and you love me the same. The rest is confetti. So it's almost like Jesus talking to all these sinners here. That's what I got from it and felt. Even if you look at her hair length and her outfit. They've kind of been setting that up. And we see little blurbs now of Hugh taking these pills. Giving you, again, hints at his fate here. And then we get the rhyming riddles of Poppy Hill again, which wasn't crazy about. Very gimmicky and really, again, does not feel necessary. And Liv appears, tells Poppy to stop. And Liv actually confirms that it wasn't her the dad's had in his head the whole time. It is just him. So it shows his growth as a person here. And Hugh talks about blocking this door forever, not letting the kids in. And he's explained to Liv that they're dying in there. And Liv says they're waking, shows that conflict. And she's like, when I woke, I had no more headaches, no more pain. And she's like, you took them from me and you hurt them, Hugh. But Hugh has great lines here. He's like, but even if they suffer as adults and grow up through pain, we have to watch it. That's our deal as parents. And then Liv's like, it's a horror. And he says, it doesn't have to be. It's like, I saw our daughter dance at her wedding. And he's like, we created a star. And she's like, stars die. If you can grab a star before it bursts, that's the power you have of this house. It's our forever house. So it all connects there, and it's really good writing. All connecting too to why Liv had in the blueprints drawn the forever house. That's what she's seeing of this place deep down. Her dream scenario. But it's all just like a temptation apple for her here. It's not real. It's fake. And it's really dark too, because it's that thought of like, yeah, death is the ultimate escape from reality and life. But it doesn't mean it's better on the other side, which this story is always teaching here and talking about. Talking about really too, the main lesson of this show as a whole is it's better to feel something than nothing. And the dad's alluding to that here too, where yeah, you're going to have bad in life and your kids are going to go through it, but that's part of it. But there's also good. Would you rather have no good either? Because the other side of that is there's just nothing. And you saw Theo in her monologue in episode 8 talks about that. And that's how it ends with this great line where she's like, well, they'll never see bad again in that room. But he's like, but they will never see good if you do not open that door. They are dying in there. Let them go into the world. Let them go. Open the door. And then they're talking to each other like, journeys don't end. Not if you love someone. They don't end at all. Isn't that wonderful? So you see the happy tone starts here, which I like. But I also have my gripes, which we'll get to. And Dad walks into the red room. They get Luke out. And you see when the dad and Steve are carrying Luke out, this is where Steve definitely noticed, oh my God, this is the ghost of my father because my real dad's on the ground dead there. Now Steven is shown by Hugh's ghost what happened when Hugh came back that day for Liv. And it's really sad with Hugh holding her crying. This is where the serious trauma started for Hugh. And the Dudleys appear and he's telling them he can fix it. But this is where I start getting mad at this episode, because when the Dudleys go upstairs and find Abby's dead, their daughter, I really don't understand their reaction here. I did not buy this at all. It was so subdued, especially on the father. I mean, this is your daughter dead on the ground you were looking for. And there's something very shoulder shrug about it. Like, oh yeah, that's our daughter. She's dead. Oh man. Like, where was the passion here? And then he was thinking straight. He's like, I'm going to burn this house down. But Miss Dudley won't have it because Abby, the ghost, is still there. And they make a deal with Hugh awfully quick. And this just felt rushed. And they're like, we won't say a thing about Olivia if you don't mention what happened. And your kids don't need to know anything else. And we can protect how your kids see their mom for what she really was. And they're like, we all know what really happened here. And the Dudley's like, we want to keep the house, but no one else is allowed in to protect them. Leave it here so we can see her. Come on, Hugh. This was such a dumb move listening to them. And from listening to the Dudley's advice, him protecting his kids now, thinking about this and not getting rid of this house as the number one thing, you can look at it as what ended up killing Nell. If that house wasn't there, that wouldn't have happened. It backfired. And this goes into debate too, which I don't really agree as much with this theme here, where he was trying to protect his kids from the truth about what his mom really did, right? But this opens a debate for me, because Steven says in current time to the ghost dad, you should have told me what happened really here. And he's like, well, you didn't tell your sisters what you saw. And he says, some things can't be told. And he sees the dad dead, and he's like, you live them or you don't, but can't be told. Passes on to Stephen Hillhouse and the promise of protecting it, which I hated. I think this goes against what the show is teaching, and this show showed you how much miscommunication was between these siblings and this father. And they're kind of saying in the end here, hey, it's okay. Some things are best left unsaid. I don't think that was the case here. I think this proved the opposite. That really, if you look at it, if he didn't do that, none of this would have happened. If the kids really got the truth from their dad, yeah, it might have scarred them a bit, but you eventually recover and then you grow the right way because you actually know what's happening now. You're actually taking them out of danger in that sense. Like, yeah, your mom did do this screwed up thing, but she was possessed. And that's for them to judge if they want to believe that or not and how they take it. But at least when they were adults, they should have known. And now they're making it like the house is kind of a good thing, and he walks back with Nell and the mom, but I can't figure out this mom ghost thing because Nell's ghost has been consistent. But the mom's like, is she bad? Is she good? Why did she push Nell off the ledge? What the hell is going on with that? And then she's saying nice things to Luke and then gives him the hat and almost wants to kill him there and trap him in the red room. So, yeah, I get she wanted to keep her kids there, but it just felt off and consistent with that. And now Hugh's going to go in there even though that thing really killed his daughter. So it just, I don't like how the house is getting a good angle at the end here. And protecting this promise of keeping it up. Why? It's caused more bad than good. Am I crazy here? But I did love the shot of Steven leaving with all these ghosts behind him. And the Steve narration begins here. And he apologizes to Lee, which I love. And he's saying ghosts are guilt, ghosts are secrets, ghosts are regrets and feelings. So it's looking at the show again from a metaphorical standpoint, and it's most time a wish. And this, he's saying, we saw all played out for all these siblings in different forms throughout the show. And then we see Shirley confesses to Kevin, but I hate the song that starts playing here. No. Don't make this fully This Is Us Now or a Hallmark show. You're bringing an actual song here in. I get they wanted something happy and sad and beautiful in a way, but maybe just go with an instrumental for that. We didn't need this guy singing about a house. It was so on the nose and so corny. Come on, that's not what this show's been like. Completely throwing in a shocking type of vibe there. It was almost too extreme. It was overdone. And again, back to this happy tone, everyone's arguing about this ending. What I will say is I like that the kids won in the end and they learned and faced their fears and said sorry, dealt with their demons, and eventually beat the house. But that was enough. That was perfect way to end on a happy note and not do too much. But to have now the house was also angled as something to protect, and that line here where he says at the end, those who walk there walk together. Come on, what the hell was that? That's totally negating the line, those who walk there walk alone. You're just changing now the concept of the house, which I don't think served a good purpose or lesson. How can you just convince us on that after seeing all the messed up stuff that happened there? That's a lot to ask. But I love this monologue in general. Everybody's talking about walls don't keep us safe. They never work that way. It lines up nicely with Theo throwing her gloves, which are her walls, into the garbage. And he goes back to the fears, the relinquishment of logic. Hugs his wife Lee, wants to come home now. But I didn't like the Dudleys coming back at old age and making this house this thing where they can go see themselves dead and stay in touch. That's just a sickness right there. And there wasn't enough time for them. The Dudleys were a weak developed characters. We didn't really get much about them. And that goes with the mom and dad. We didn't get much backstory about them, which I would have liked too. And I had that complaint since the Two Storms episode with the father, where we don't know much about them. Where everyone else got that time, I think it would have worked better, really get into their heads. And it hurt their love story too. It was nice here too to see 2 years sober for Luke. That ending line was cringeworthy, and so was that music. But I still really liked this finale. Song drove me off the walls, and I wasn't crazy about the house kind of getting a get out of jail free card. But this finale got sloppy to me, especially character motivations, including the Dudleys was making that deal, how they reacted to their daughter, including the dad, and how he was just accepting of things he wasn't really quickly, and it was just strange. Got almost a little too much ghost logic for its own good here, which is a trap Westworld falls into. It gets a little too complicated and reaches for a little too much. Again, going back to the overdoing. But I still loved it. I love that we got closure for each character in that red room. And I love the twist that they were all in there the whole time, growing up, and how many times they went in that room. I really hope we get a season 2, but not with the Crains. We know that wouldn't work. This was wrapped up well. But I'd love to get anthology out of this, a season 2 of another haunting book by Stephen Crane, like Haunting of Aztec, what they talked about. We saw a whole line of books there. They can do anything there. Unfortunately, they're probably only going to get Mike Flanagan on to direct 1 or 2 episodes. Now he's a busy dude. He's got movies now. He's a popular hot item right now. So you're going to have to lower expectations if they do a season 2, which they're obviously going to do. Netflix sees it's a mega hit. They're going to force it. But I hope they go that route. And you're not going to replace this good of a cast no matter what. So we'll see how they handle that. I'm going to give this episode a 9.4. Still great, like this whole season was. Just had disappointing things to it. That's going to happen in shows. Nothing's perfect. And the season, I'm going to give it 9.6. Again, my favorite episode of the season still being Bent Neck Lady. And I think the best streak was episode 4, 5, 6. From Luke's episode, Bent Neck, 2 Storms. That was some magic right there. Lightning in a bottle. What did you guys rate this episode? What did you think of it? I'd love to hear it. And I love what you thought of the season as a whole. Do you want a season 2? If so, how do you want it? Anthology? Continuing this story? Do you want to see the Crains again? So I'd love to hear your thoughts, theories as well. Anything I might have missed, let me know. Please subscribe to my channel. I have all episodes of Haunting Hill House covered now, so you can see that in the playlist linked above. And stay with me here. The next shows I'm going to be doing is True Detective in January. I'm going to do Black Mirror when that comes out, which should be very soon on Netflix. Much, much more. Please follow me at SteveVarley1 on Twitter and Instagram for more of me. And I'll see you next time.